So let's talk a little bit about impeachment now. A lot of people, you all get real righteous on Facebook, like, y'all don't know your civic history. Y'all don't understand impeachment. Well, people don't know. So let's just make sure we have the basics here. President Trump, the House charges. The House is like the police. When the police file charges, but you still have to go to trial to see if you're convicted of charges. So the House has filed the charges, and now there are 7 House members serving as the prosecutors, and the Senate is where the trial is being held. And the senators, all 100, are the jury. So that is what has started. Yesterday was a long day. They were there for 12 hours. Let me tell you what, I tapped out at 11. About 11 o'clock I left, and I watched it from home. They didn't end till almost 2 a.m. But yesterday was just kind of procedural stuff, but it took a long time because even in the procedural stuff, the House members were doing a lot of talking. Today is opening arguments. It's been going on since about 1. They're going to take a break around 6:30 for dinner. If you have a chance, go on either C-SPAN, c-span.org or senate.gov. If you pull up the video from this morning, just the first 20 minutes was really, really interesting. Adam Schiff, who's one of the House impeachment managers. He's the Intelligence Committee chairman, and he really started laying out the argument, and it was really interesting. He talked about our founding fathers and how they even wrote impeachment into the Constitution as a way of removing a president if the Senate really felt that they had done something wrong. So it was a really interesting history lesson. Dory asked, where is that? So Tanya asked, well, let me go to Dory. Let me not skip ahead. Dory asked, are there any creative ways that members of the press are getting around that because we can't take any electronics in? And the answer is no. There is no. The creativity is when you feel like you need to use your phone, you get up and you leave the press gallery, which kind of overlooks the senators. You have to leave the room, go get your phone. The good thing is everything is live streamed. Of course, the Senate, again, I talked about cspan.org. I talked about the Senate website. So you can live stream. I'm sure you guys have seen all the major networks are carrying it live. So a lot of time yesterday I was at my desk because you can multitask. But again, you do have the New York Times with the sketch artist, which was pretty cool. But other than that, you just kind of have to use your pen and paper, do it old school style. Let's see here, what else? Malik asked, do members of Congress expect the Chief Justice to make rulings on admissibility or the weight of evidence? So here's where things are a little bit. Chief Justice John Roberts, who came over from the Supreme Court, is presiding. However, a lot of decisions about what is or is not going to be accepted as evidence is already written into the rules package that the Senate agreed to yesterday, which was highly partisan. All the Republicans voted yes, all the Democrats voted no, but Republicans are in the majority, so that rule package still stands. And so, for example, initially, Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, who's from my home state of Kentucky, initially he said the rules were going to say for the House evidence to be accepted, the Senate will decide, they'll vote on that. And he heard from some members who said, you took it too far, Mitch, bring that back. And so when they approved the rule package yesterday, they basically said, whatever the House submits, it will be accepted into the record. However, individual senators can say, I want to talk about this, or they can also bring up different things, individual senators, if they want to add more stuff to the record. So what we think will happen, so here's how the trial will unfold. Right now we're at opening arguments. Each side has 24 hours. They can split that up 3 days. So essentially the House Democrats, which they get to start because they're the prosecution, They started their clock running today. They have up to 3 days and up to 24 hours. Then after that, President Trump's attorneys will have up to 24 hours, up to 3 days to give their opening argument. After that happens is when we get to the question and answer period. And this is where we think, the senators have spent a lot of time just sitting at their desk listening. They can't have any electronics either, even though some had an Apple Watch. If you go to roll call, they did a whole article about how some senators seem to be somewhat breaking the rules because the Apple Watch is an electronic. They could be texting and other stuff. But they can have no food in the chamber. They can only have water or milk, random, right? So the senators have been doing a lot of just listening, sitting at their desks listening. But after the opening arguments, up to 48 hours, they get up to 16 hours to ask their own questions. And that's what's different a little bit. Juries sometimes do get to ask questions in a trial. So they'll get up to 16 hours to ask questions. Oh my God, hey grandma. Y'all, my grandma's watching. Hey grandma. Okay, so that is what's going to happen. And after that 16 hours of question happens, then there will be discussion about should there be additional witnesses called. That's a lot of you guys have been hearing the Republicans are saying, we're following the same rules as Bill Clinton. Well, yes and no. The difference was when Bill Clinton was impeached, and remember, he was impeached by the House, the Senate did not remove him. So when Bill Clinton was impeached, there was already witnesses that had been called and deposed that were submitted into the record. And so and then there were witnesses called as part of the trial. So the question is, will the Senate agree to call additional witnesses? Also, the House, as different things come up, the House wants to reserve the right to add additional evidence in. For example, the House approved articles of impeachment back in December. Those are the charges, 2 charges. Trump faces 2 charges. Those are the articles of impeachment. Nancy Pelosi did not send the articles to the Senate for several weeks. She didn't send them over to the Senate until early January. And before the trial could start, a big investigation from the Government Accountability Office, I think is the proper acronym, the GAO, that really was germane to the case, came out. So the House members said, we're going to add that in. Even though we didn't have this evidence when we passed the articles of impeachment, we've got new evidence, and they rolled it even into what they're presenting at the trial now. So we don't know what else may come out in the next couple of weeks and how that could play out in trial, but now a lot of it will be up to senators to decide what they will and won't allow. And again, guys, if you have questions, I'm looking. Hey, Miss Irene, give me a shout out. But if you have more questions, let me know, because I really want to make this about helping empower people with information. And for those who are just joining, I am at the caucus room in the Russell office building. For those who are new, I'm just going to show it to you. It's, oh my God, a gorgeous building with marble walls, marble columns, gilded ceilings. Oh, look at the chandelier, please. So that's where I am. Okay, back to my cute face. Let's see what other questions. Donnell asked on Twitter, are members falling asleep? Again, it's a long day. They were in the gallery yesterday for 12 hours. And yes, they took some brief breaks, but that's still a long time for anyone to have to sit in a chair and just listen. Remember, yesterday, senators, they took some votes, but for the most part, they were listening. There was one report of one senator who was caught, eyes closed, not moving. And it was reported that senator was asleep. But that senator later said that, it was just eyes closed, resting his eyes, listening intently. So we have no confirmed case of a senator falling asleep. But let me tell you what they were doing. They would get up, listen, anybody who knows what it's like in a long meeting, I remember some long days pledging a certain sorority, and if it was a long day, we would sometimes just get up and quietly come stand to the back of the room, and you stand up to keep yourself alert. And so that's what a lot of the senators were doing. They also do have what we call cloakrooms. That is one of my favorite things learning the Capitol is they call their areas the cloakroom. And they can go into the cloakroom. The Republicans have one and the Democrats have one. And they can go into their cloakroom and take a quick break as well. And there are also areas where they can meet with the media. Again, I'm going to have to, post more pictures because video isn't allowed at the Capitol. And so it's hard for me to really show you guys what's going on in the Capitol. But the cloakroom is where they can kind of take a break, go to the bathroom, all that good stuff. So again, no confirmed cases of senators falling asleep. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, we'll end on this question from Tanya. She asked, what are the chances Trump will get removed from office? And that's like $1 million question, right? So the chances are slim, people. Let's go back to Bill Clinton. At the time that Bill Clinton was impeached, and we all know that has to do with Monica Lewinsky, but technically he was charged with perjury because during the investigation of the whole Monica Lewinsky thing, he said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And we later found out they did some things, and that became kind of the focus of the impeachment charges. And the House was led by Republicans at the time. They impeached him on a charge of perjury. It went to the Senate, which was led by Democrats at the time, and they ultimately decided that the charges against the president did not rise to the level of his removal from office. And so after the Senate trial, President Clinton was not removed. So let's take it here with President Trump. Everything is pretty much reversed. We have a Democrat-controlled House, which has 2 charges again against the president. They say that he has abused the power of his office by asking Ukrainian's president to investigate a company that has ties to Joe Biden's family. We know Joe Biden is a big political rival who, quite frankly, could be the Democratic nominee to go up against Trump this November. So the House decided that Trump had violated his oath of office and charged him with 2 different charges leading to the trial. But in the Senate is controlled by Republicans. And thus far, those Republicans have expressed a lot of skepticism about removing the president from office based on what we know thus far. Now, again, things can change. New evidence could come to light that changes their minds. But as it is right now, I do not foresee many Republicans changing their minds. And right now, the Senate is split 53-47. Again, it would take 51 to to remove him, because in the case of a tie, the tiebreaker is Vice President Mike Pence, whose ceremonial duties include serving as president of the Senate and a tiebreaker. So the Senate would need 51 votes to remove Trump from office, which means they need all the Democrats to vote to remove him, plus 4 Republicans. And I just, at this point, don't see that happening. You know, I cover Georgia for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and both of Georgia's senators, Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, are Republicans, and both of them have been very critical of the Democratic impeachment. They think Trump hasn't been treated fairly. They think the impeachment is focused on partisanship, and it's all about Democrats not liking Trump. They believe that there is not yet that they believe that Democrats have not shown that Trump has done anything that rises to the level of removing him from office. And that's what a lot of the Republicans are saying. So we will see, though. The trial, again, is just getting started, and we'll see how it unfolds from here. But right now, Democrats are on one side, Republicans are on the other, and barring some Republicans starting to say that they're with Democrats, it ain't happening. And what would that mean is that, yes, Trump would still be an impeached president, just like Bill Clinton is an impeached president. But if he's not removed, he would serve the rest of his term and again face re-election in November. So I'm going to end on that note, guys. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I am going to try to do this more often because, number one, I like doing stuff like this. But again, I want it to be helpful and insightful, and I guess I'll just find another cute room next time because I literally just kind of wandered around until I saw a room that was open. So, but if you have questions, comments, just, if you want to know, hey, Tia, what's it like there or whatever, leave me more comments and we'll do this more often because I'm here all day watching the Senate trial with my pen and pad.